Bitcoin is a first. It is an invention. It's something wholly new, like on the financial scene. Nothing like it has existed before.
Some people say you need 6.15 Bitcoin. Some people
Mhm.
say just get to one. Some people say a fraction of Bitcoin is the threshold. My question to you is, how many Bitcoin do you think the average person can comfortably accumulate to be considered a top 1% Bitcoin holder in the future?
Pete Rizzo has studied and written about Bitcoin since 2013. As one of the original journalists in the crypto space, starting at CoinDesk, now editor-at-large for Bitcoin Magazine and Kraken, today Pete Rizzo joins us to help answer the question, how many Bitcoin do you need to become a top 1% Bitcoin holder? But first, so everybody's on the same page, what is Bitcoin's value prop today in 2023?
Pete Rizzo, why Bitcoin? Like, for those who are on the fence about Bitcoin's value proposition today, what's the bull case for Bitcoin today?
Well, the bull case for Bitcoin is it's global money. For people who've been building the space, obviously, from my perspective as a Bitcoin historian, why I find this so fascinating is if you really kind of roll back the tape, you'll find that the tale of humanity and money is a rather short one. So essentially, human beings needed a way to transact and trade. We discovered gold. That started and seemed to work out okay. We introduced governments and government monies, and then boom, kind of in 2009, we discovered Bitcoin, right? So monetary history is pretty short. There haven't been a tremendous amount of innovations in this area. You think about telecommunications, where we went from the telegraph to the telephone to the computer to the iPhone. Money's been a comparably backwater science. I'll just say it out loud, right there. You've needed a government to innovate in the field of money, and Bitcoin really broke that paradigm, right? So what we're seeing now is that value can move at the speed of information, right? So if you look at that kind of arc of history, the movement of information, really crucial development, and now we have the movement of money. So the genie's out of the bottle there, can't put it back, and really that's what I see as the great drama of Bitcoin is essentially, humanity has kind of stumbled on this new way to do something. Can argue it's maybe not really new. We've had internet communications for a while, but that's migrated over to this domain of interaction that's primarily been the most political thing that exists within society is money and politics, and Bitcoin exists right at the fissure point of both of those things, and because of that it's incredibly disruptive, it's incredibly confusing. And I take the 10,000 foot view that this is just humanity figuring this out, right? We're at the early stages of that story. I think we've seen some of the formative history, but it's a tale being told, and there's a lot to learn.
So with the value prop, how people can store their money today or save value today, it's, mainly the US dollar or other investment opportunities. Now, the US dollar weakening over time, people are losing faith in the US dollar, countries and individuals. And, Bitcoin as a store of value money, decentralized, permissionless, censorship resistant, Bitcoin is the only alternative, would you say?
Well, I mean, look, there's always different ways to do things. I like to say that, Bitcoin is an economy, and it's a growing economy, right? So I think one of the things that is a flashpoint in the Bitcoin community today is that we're seeing that Bitcoin is now, capable of doing maybe even more things than just money, right? So we have this idea that Bitcoin can be an expansive technology, and it can potentially, as a computing network and a technology, do the kind of things that other economic systems do, right? So we have this interesting tension between, Bitcoin is it just a store of value, or Bitcoin, can it really become something else where it is an economy, right? And you think about an economy, people like to compare the US dollar versus Bitcoin, but I think a lot of Bitcoiners are a bit disingenuous when they do that. I mean, look, the average Bitcoiner is going out there on podcasts. They've got US dollar denominated home loans, they've got US dollar denominated car payments that they're making. They're transacting kind of daily in US dollars when they go get coffee. So I think we're very far away from this point where Bitcoin, we call this, I think, in the Bitcoin sphere, hyper Bitcoinization, right? Where Bitcoin is this transactional economy, right? Where it is this system of finance that, envelops most of your life. Right now, people are buying, storing value in Bitcoin. We've seen that's incredibly powerful. Obviously, look, if you haven't bought Bitcoin over the last 10 years, you have been financially penalized. You've watched as people who are participants in that economy have grown in their wealth and purchasing power, like far beyond what you have. And this was a painful lesson for myself, right? So I was a journalist early in the space. I was the editor of CoinDesk. I abstained. I didn't buy or sell any of the crypto coins, and not Bitcoin either. And I was financially penalized, right? I watched as this economy grew, and as a non-participant in that economy, I didn't gain, right? So Bitcoin, I think we have to look at it as a system that's bigger than just a store of value. Personally, that's how I look at it. And I think the recent developments in Bitcoin, we're starting to see kind of some of the crypto folks migrate over. We've seen NFTs migrate over. We're seeing tokens migrate over. And look, I think this is just the start. I think the mental models are being shaken up. It's a bear market. This is when the narratives really kind of dissolve. We need to figure out ways to move the whole ecosystem forward. And one of the things that I continually kind of focus on this idea is Bitcoin as an economy. What is your level of participation in Bitcoin and the Bitcoin economy, right? If you're buying and stacking sats, great. But is that the most you can do? Is that the most that we have to do to advance Bitcoin? I would argue not. I mean, I don't know. It seems hard for me to figure out how Bitcoin's going to last long term if we're just all buying and hodling and then spending on things in US dollars. That seems like a brief period in the tail of hyper Bitcoinization if you're going to zoom out.
Totally, totally. Before we get too much into this, I want people to get a better understanding of who you are. So I know you're the editor at large at Bitcoin Magazine. You're here today representing Bitcoin Miami Conference, also the editor at large at Kraken Exchange. Who are you, Pete Rizzo? And feel free to brag a little bit. Tell us your story.
Oh, I'm not a big bragger. It's not a great tale, but yeah, I've been in the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency space now for 10 years. I was kind of one of the original journalists in the space. I was the editor at CoinDesk for 6 or 7 years during a lot of the formative debates. Kind of found myself in an existential crisis. I'd spent kind of a lot of this time kind of like partaking in this industry, but not really getting into the substantive weeds about like what it was about, right? I think for a long time, and one of the things that I really focus on now is that I find that you can be exposed to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency for a long period of time without feeling any sort of like immediate need to it, right? I was pretty dismissive of Bitcoin, if I'm going to be honest, right? I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. And it really was my kind of me sort of waking up to like, look, if you're a journalist, you're covering the news, you can kind of break a story, but this is about a company, right? You're not really asking questions about how Bitcoin works, how blockchains work, what people are saying cryptocurrencies work. I think I was really just disenfranchised by the ICO boom, right? There was this whole kind of in 2017 era where people were just, printing tokens, raising crazy sums, promising the sky. And, there was a point where I was like, okay, do I support this? Like, is this an industry that I can dedicate like my human time and attention to? And, I really had a big falling out. I'd be honest, like we're, 18, 19, there are periods of time where I probably could have just left the industry, right? Like just being totally disenfranchised, didn't know what was what. And I imagine a lot of people might be feeling the same way in the bear market. You kind of got in, things felt good, things fell apart. So what do you do with it? I think for me, how I tried to kind of move forward was I went back to the beginning. I was like, okay, well, I saw a lot of the history. I was there. I can't really explain a lot of these things. So maybe I can try to piece it together, right? So I really went back into the archives, and really a lot of my work now is focused on, okay, what do we know about Satoshi Nakamoto? What do we know about Bitcoin? How did it develop over time? What were the decisions that were made about it? And then making those stories accessible to people, because ultimately I feel like if Bitcoin is going to be this big step change in humanity, if people in 100 years are going to be transacting in Bitcoin, then those people are going to need to understand what happened in some way. Like if you imagine like you're 100 years from now, you lived through hyper Bitcoinization, nations rose and fall, like companies came and went, people now, like right, early adopters of Bitcoin could be among the wealthiest people in the world. You could have this, kind of huge shakeup in paradigm. And I find myself wondering a lot, like, okay, what would it be like to live in that world? And like, what would I want to know? Let's just say like, my forefathers didn't stack Bitcoin, and I lived in a society that was sort of like reshaped amid hyper Bitcoinization, right? So if we extrapolate it, right, this is what people are saying. I mean, I'm not making this up. Like you read Twitter every day, right? This is what people really believe that will happen, right? So, if that happens, what would your life be like, and what answers would you want, right? What would you want to understand about what happened? So I don't know. I think a lot about those people, and I feel like a lot of responsibility towards them. I think that we need to work to make Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, like the history of the industry, like more accessible, because it is very unfriendly. It is very possible to spend a ton of time in the industry and then just consume complete drivel, just like absolutely nothing of importance. And I did that for a long time, so I'm sympathetic to it, right? I understand it, and I think that's one of the things why I am critical of the cryptocurrency community is like I was also a participant of it, right? I was someone who was agnostic two things. And not only that, but I was like moralistic about my own agnosticism. I thought being agnostic made me somehow, better than everybody else. That, I was, I don't care about the coins. I don't have any skin in the game. And I think, why I still participate in the journalistic forums is I have to say, look, like this is happening. Like this is real. You have to have some perspective on it, right? Bitcoin exists. It's not going away. Cryptocurrencies exist. They're not going away. You have to have some stance on these things beyond just feeling nothing about them or being agnostic. Like that's not okay. Like you can't claim that agnosticism is somehow moral. Like a lot of the journalists, they do this. They're right. Like they're like, oh, I don't understand Bitcoin and I don't care. Okay, great. You can make that choice. But I think there's something like kind of hollow about that. You should have a fundamental. If you are a participant in the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency industry, like you should have some fundamental thing that you believe about how things are being pushed forward. So I think my journey was basically that, right? I mean, someone who has asked questions, tried to kind of be open about those questions, and then I don't know, just be open to the idea that we don't have all the answers about what's happening in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, and to be insanely skeptical about most things that are going on. So
I like it. Bitcoin Miami conference is this week for conversations like this and a lot more. People can attend Bitcoin Miami conference. They can still get their tickets, 10% off with the code down below. My question to you, Pete, is I'm on the fence about going to Bitcoin Miami. Why should I go? What do you like about it?
I think it's a bear market conference. I think it's going to be a fun time. I think great things happen when people who are passionate about Bitcoin get together. And look, I'm just going to put it out there. I don't think it's a year where people are going to agree, but look, if they've learned anything from the cryptocurrency market cycles, I get it. It's hard. We just went through a bull market. We were going to make it. Everything was going to the moon. It was all happening. It was all there, and it just, it just slipped away. And it's, is that the real reality of what happened? Like, no, that's not really what happened. What really happened was that, Bitcoin has a decades long journey to becoming like a useful technology. And we are understanding more about it. We have to be open to understanding more about it. If you're somebody who has been skeptical of Bitcoin and you're looking at the new things that are going on in Bitcoin and you're interested in that, like come to Miami, talk to people who are there, have conversations. It is look, many of the Bitcoin maximalists were in the crypto community before. This isn't a big secret. A lot of us, we were there. We used to think that all these things were great. We bought the rainbows and the unicorns, and then we changed our minds because we are rational people who can be reasoned with. I think that we should believe everybody is a rational person who can be reasoned with. So yeah, come to Bitcoin Miami. It'll be fun. There's going to be stars. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to be there making his political debut. I mean, there's a political candidate is launching his political campaign at the Bitcoin conference. You can't make that up. Tulsi Gabbard. You can go down the list of the big names. I'm trying to think. Adam Back. I mean, it's going to be a who's who, right? So I think, be interested in what's going on. Be involved. Come to Miami, and we are going to come out of this. It's a confusing time. Bear markets are confusing. Our mental models are breaking down, but we'll get there. And hopefully that starts in Miami. So, see you there.
We all gonna make it.
Well, I don't know about that,
but my final couple of questions for you, Pete, and links to Pete's stuff down below. Go follow him. My final couple of questions is, I guess to start off, do you subscribe to the theory that Bitcoin is so revolutionary and its value capture dynamics are so strong that Bitcoin will be worth a lot more in the future than it is today?
Well, I mean, I think, look, if you accept that that Bitcoin is ultimately going to become competitive as a financial system against other world economies, then you have to be bullish long term, right? So again, you have to go back to the arc of history and where things are going, right? If Bitcoin is a first, it is an invention. It's something wholly new, like on the financial scene, and that like nothing like it has existed before. So we live in a world today where monetary policy and the governance of money is highly nationalized. Like every country you go to has a different paper currency. They all have different exchange rates. And our money is very politicized. We saw this in Canada. They'll take away your money if you say something you don't like. This is happening in other repressive regimes. In China, Alex Gladstein is great, in terms of talking about this. That is the reality of the world that we live in today. Bitcoin represents a seismic break away from that. So if Bitcoin is going to ultimately be the new system, be the next system, be the new, or even a big share of it, you're talking about Walmart and Amazon on a scale of geopolitics, right? You're talking about a future where, maybe Bitcoin, is the size, like is, most financial transactions in the world are denominated in Bitcoin, as opposed to the remaining U.S. dollar system, which is like Walmart or something like that, right? Walmart, Amazon, anyway. So yeah, I mean, I think that Bitcoin, but again, like that whole dynamic of the financial opportunity, is a bit skewed, right? Like I think, they say come for the gain, stay for the revolution, right? I think if you think that future is interesting, if you think participating in that economy is interesting, then yes, I think that, Bitcoin is a great place to put your time and energy into solving some of these problems because, if you're unhappy with that current state of things, Bitcoin is really, I think, the only option, right? And then, it's the thing that we need to take forward and that, its existence might not be guaranteed. So I think that's why we need all the participants that we can get in order to get to that future. But yeah, to the moon, right?
You gave me a very thoughtful, nuanced answer. I'm going to distill that to yes. You do think Bitcoin is going to be worth more in the future. And so my follow-up question is, some people say you need 6.15 Bitcoin. Some people say just get to one. Some people say a fraction of Bitcoin is the threshold. My question to you is, how many Bitcoin do you think the average person can comfortably accumulate to be considered a top 1% Bitcoin holder in the future?
Wow, there's a lot of points to that question. How many Bitcoin can you accumulate? Look, if you get one Bitcoin, I think you're doing good. But again, I think I just want to fight back on this idea of like this like passive like hodling mentality that a lot of people fall into. This is like a weird 2021 people thing. I don't know like where this happened. Like yes, you can sit there and then slowly stack Bitcoin over time, but then like what's your game plan? Like this, we have to build the system so that it works and that like look, we have a weird financial privilege today. Like you can save in Bitcoin and go out and spend a more inferior currency is like the US dollar or whatever financial system you're in. But that's not going to be the case in the future if like Bitcoin is successful. Like people won't have that opportunity. So it's like, okay, should I tell you to take advantage of it? There are people who will say that, right? They'll say just stack sats and like, wait for things to happen. But I would say that, if you're doing that, you should also realize there are some limitations with what you're doing. Like you also can help propel Bitcoin forward. There isn't, I think there's this idea that people have that like they can't influence Bitcoin. Like they can't do anything to make Bitcoin better. And that's absolutely not true. That's like not true at all. No, you can go out and found a company. You can like make a startup. You can build a protocol maybe that's on top of Bitcoin, as the Ordinals protocol proved. There's any number of things that you can do to increase the utility of Bitcoin in the world. And you should do those things if you really believe in Bitcoin and want to make Bitcoin value. Because again, this idea, I think we've created this culture, and this is the thing, another part of the Bitcoin maximalism culture that I think really needs to go away is that we really created a very passive culture. We've created people who really think, they can just sit and hold Bitcoin until the world collapses. But the question that I always ask is like, well, what the hell are you going to do? Okay, so like the whole let's just game this out. Like the whole financial system like crashes tomorrow and like nobody's using the US dollar anymore. Do you think that they're going to use Bitcoin? Why would they use Bitcoin? Like they don't understand anything about it. Why would that be their immediate reaction? So I think that, are we ready to onboard those people? Right? Like this is the thing, right? The congestion with ordinals is a great example where we've been building Bitcoin in a way to prepare for this. It's been the assumption of the people who are developing Bitcoin, working on the core protocol, that it would be financially, expensive for you to transact on the base layer of Bitcoin, and that would be a fundamentally, difficult thing in the future. Well, now we're here, and it's how prepared are we? Do we have Lightning wallets that work? Do we have exchanges that are integrating Lightning? And the answer is not really. It's actually really hard. We haven't got to that point. The exchanges, I think, are waking up now and they're starting to integrate Lightning, and that's great. And, some of these things, it's like, how prepared can you be? So again, I just want to fight against this passive people. Like, I don't know. My brother is one of these like 21 passive guys, we're just like, wait for the world to collapse. And it's, everything will be okay. And I have a lot of problems with that. I just don't know why you would have that viewpoint. I get it's comfortable. It's a comfortable viewpoint. It's like, okay, I'll just stack some Bitcoin and then the world will go away and then I'll be rich. But, okay, great. I don't know. That's not how the world's going to work. I highly doubt that that's what's going to happen. And even if it did happen, I just think that would be a shitty, like really shitty really experience for everybody. Like, why would you want that?
I appreciate that answer truly, but if I had to pin you down on a number for the threshold to be 1%,
I don't know, 0.69. I don't know. I pick a number out of a hat,
I love it. Pete Rizzo, thank you very much for coming on today. Guys, follow Pete Rizzo down below. See you, hang out with both of us at Bitcoin Miami Conference this week. Pete, I'll give you can either do final thoughts for the Altcoin Daily audience or top 3 altcoins in the space if you want to answer for real, but you don't have to. Final thoughts.
Top 3 altcoins would be Bitcoin, Bitcoin, and Bitcoin.
Oh,
Yeah,
you told me you had something to say.
No, it was a trick question.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, thoughts to the Altcoin Daily audience. I mean, look, be interested in what's going on and just be skeptical of things. Like, I kind of get where you're here for. Like, you're kind of here to like kind of, figure out how you can kind of find the next thing and flip it around and do the Pepe thing. Like, look, I get it. Okay, but I don't know. I just feel like the financial degen mindset is also like pretty problematic. You're participating in a system where like you are gaining at someone else's expense. So, if you bought one of these like Shiba Inus or Dogecoins, it's like you're just trying to flip them around for your own personal benefit. I think the great thing about Bitcoin and the Bitcoin community, in contrast to some of the other stuff in crypto, like we have to solve the financial problems that exist in the world. It's like we have to go out and build solutions to those things. So like, pick up a shovel and like get involved. Like it's not really fun. Like, it's the intellectual problems are pretty hard. Like we're figuring it out. Like it's better, right? We know more about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies than we did before. But yeah, I mean, look, I think just do me a favor and ask, like, if you invest in some random thing, like read the website, read the white paper, like look at the stuff and like ask questions about it. Like see if it really makes sense. And then build your ability to do that, and then maybe you'll find that over time you understand Bitcoin a little bit better. So, and I look forward to welcome you to that conversation when you're ready. So
Awesome. I appreciate that, Pete. Guys, go follow Pete. Pete, thanks so much for coming on today.
thanks for having me.